See, one of the hardest decisions that you will ever face as a founder is how do you get your startup funded? And there's all kind of money out there, all kind of capital out there. And if you end up picking the wrong kind of capital, it can kill even a great business. So that's why it's not enough to just raise money. You need to understand what is the cost of raising each option and what is the cost of raising the wrong kind of capital. So in this video, we break down the different kind of capital available to you so that you know what's exactly right for your business. You will be hearing from Archana. She's a VC. She runs Rukum Capital. She's got years of experience, some brilliant investments. She's talking about the biggest mistakes founders make when they're fundraising. Let's get started. Cool. Archana, I want to understand for a first time entrepreneur who's sort of flirting with the idea of raising funds, there are multiple kinds of money available in the market. And it's very hard to know when one's right for you because money is just so tempting. You could go wrong with that. I'll name a few categories and you tell me who is it the right fit for and when should you really consider such kind of money. When should you really go to NBFCs to raise money for your business?
I think for a startup founder,
Yeah.
I would not ever say that. There's never a right time to go to an NBFC unless you're a fintech.
Okay. How about debt?
You mean venture debt or you mean CC limit that banks give you?
Explain both.
So venture debt is, it's a very expensive form of capital. It looks as if it is not expensive, but it is because they take warrants, which basically means that they protect themselves in various ways because they don't take collateral, and also the rate of interest is much higher than what you would get from the banks. Uh, when you take CC limits typically from a bank, they would typically want collateral. Banks don't like to give collateral free loans because, they want some underlying sort of security so that in case you're not able to pay back the capital, they have some way to recover it because they're lending it to you on the basis of the deposits that they get, right? So, and those deposits are secure deposits, so which means that if I put 100 rupees in a bank, the bank has to give me back my 100 rupees, right? So how does the bank do that if it is unsecured loan? So typically the kind of loans that a business can get will require collaterals. So now that is typically the rate of interest on that is much lower and therefore more efficient for your business. But having said that, what happens is that a lot of founders in India may not have appropriate collateral to give, which is why then they turn to venture debt. So, look, ultimately, I think, as a founder, have to remember that all capital comes at a cost. There's a price attached to it. There's no such thing as free capital, unless, of course, you're getting grant money. And in that sense, that's the only free capital. But even when you try and get grant money, what happens is that you have to fill a lot of forms, you'll have to go for meetings, and you have to do a lot of reporting. So, from a time commitment that you need to sort of give to when you get that grant, so in that sense, a founder's time is the most important commodity that a founder has. So, you are in a sense paying with your time. So basically, I think for any founder who's looking to raise, that founder has to understand that there's a price tag to it. There's no such thing as a free lunch. Now, depending on the business that you do, uh, let's say it's an asset light tech product, then it's going to be very hard for you to have collateral. And banks or traditional lending sort of companies don't know how to evaluate technology, right? So it can't be a collateral or an asset that you own.
Like an app. Can't really.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
so therefore that's the problem. Whereas let's say if you're a traditional SME or MSME business, so you have machinery, you could probably have a factory, that can become potential collateral. For a lot of physical products, for example, you have bill discounting, so you can take some sort of loan against your revenue and all the bills or the POs that you've raised, basically.
That's a temporary kind of debt. I mean, it's much shorter if I would get it right.
Yes and no. So look, uh, see, the problem with a lot of founders is you have to have comfort first about money, And what does it all add up to? It's like, think about it at a very layman's perspective. Think about it like a car loan, which a lot of middle class people take. A lot of people think, oh, I'll take a 7-year loan because I'll pay it over 7. But not realizing the interest payment, the way it accrues, that the car becomes far more expensive than what you paid for, right? So, time, duration that you're using that capital for, all of that matters. So, somebody has to sit down and do that math. If you don't know how to do that math, then it's best to go in for equity based capital raise, which is risk capital, where then in that sense, you're playing with paper money, in the sense that there's a sort of a valuation that's put on it, which is arrived at what the founder thinks is appropriate and what the investor thinks is appropriate, right? And let's say a company goes down to zero, the founder in that sense has no direct liability to the investor.
Correct.
Because the investor is given risk capital. So, as the name suggests, that it is meant to be given as a risk, um, you know. Whereas if you have taken any kind of loan or venture debt, if your company is going down to zero, so whatever, pennies to the dollar there is in that company, first gets to pay off the,
Debt
yeah,
taken.
yeah. So then, like everybody else gets paid after that, if at all there's anything left in the company. So what I'm trying to say is that you've got to do some scenario planning to understand how capital works. And if you don't understand it, then your best bet is trying to raise risk capital. Now, that risk capital can come in the form of angel investing, it can come in the form of micro VCs, or,
Institutions.
yeah, I mean, it can be in
Before we go there, I just want to ask you: there's this new kind of capital available in the market, which is called revenue-based financing.
I don't think it's new, it's always been there.
I mean, I knew of ClearBank before Velocity existed in the Indian ecosystem, and I think now there's Club and Recur and all that. What's that for?
Like I said, but that will typically be if you really have a physical product, right? So if you have revenue, then they'll, sort of do some sort of simulation and calculation.
So it doesn't come at early stages. What you're saying? You got to be
Yeah,
somewhat
if you
mature.
don't have revenue, then I mean, this is not revenue based financing, right? I mean, it's logical.
Right. Angels, micro VCs, and institutions. How do you look at them differently?
See, angels, as the name or the word suggests, are taking a punt in the truest sense of the word, which means that they like you, they like the idea. Uh, they may not put in the same kind of rigor to try and understand many more things. It's somebody's personal capital. So let's say you've got a few lakhs to spare. You decide that, oh, let me give it to founders. So let's say I want to give somebody 5 lakhs. I'm going to be less critical about it because I'm an individual.
The check is tiny.
And it's also that I'm an individual. Like,
right.
how much can I sort of enforce anything also, right? So, and that has its own merits and demerits, because, and what I do want to say is that all capital has its merits and demerits. So again, a founder has to do the homework. See, um, it's like the law of the land. Like, nobody can ever, in their defense, say that they didn't know the law of the land. You're supposed to know it, whether somebody sat you down and told you the law or not. You can never, in a court of law, you can't say, I didn't know that this law
It's on you.
existed. Yeah, it's on you. So, similarly, I don't think any founder should ever turn around, I didn't know better. It is your job to know about this. Because if you're starting out to start a
But
business,
that's not the state of the ecosystem, is it?
no,
More often
I'm
than
not
not.
going to comment on that, because again, I mean, I can't possibly comment on, the lakhs of founders out there. Maybe some are, maybe some aren't.
Right.
But what I'm trying to say is that ignorance cannot be your defense. So, and the point of starting a business, it is about money. Business is ultimately about money. It is not charity. It's not that, oh, here I've got this little passion and it doesn't matter how I funded or what was here. So it is about profit and loss, right? It is
Right.
about creating a sustainable sort of company, and that company is based on the fact that you can create profits, otherwise the company doesn't exist.
Right.
So therefore, a founder has to understand this, and I would urge every founder to spend some time trying to understand it, and of course go beyond reels and go beyond social media to try and understand it, because I really strongly feel that it's good to maybe ask your friendly CA to help explain certain things to you. Because if you don't understand the essence of how you're going to finance your business, what is the mode of the capital infusion, the outcome is not going to be pretty. So it is on the founder to do that work.
Okay, just classifying quickly. Angel money is still risk capital.
Everything is risk capital. Everything, even venture debt is risk capital, right? When I say risk capital, the difference is uh, when you take equity risk, you're not taking any collaterals and any warranties, any warrants. So, which basically means, like I said, if the company is going down, I go down with the company,
Right.
right? On venture debt, the venture debt guys are the first to be paid off.
Whatever comes off goes to them.
Yeah. So
Whatever
whatever
comes
pennies
out.
come out of that business will first go to the venture debt guys, not to the founder, not to anybody else, not sometimes even to the employees. It goes to the venture debt guys because that's the
Not to the investors. The
nobody.
debt comes first.
Yeah.
Okay.
The debt has to always be repaid first, which is why in India, that's often the when it comes from the investor side, investors prefer debt because there's certain amount of certainty,
Right.
and debt is paid off in that sense on a monthly basis, right? You have to pay off that interest on a monthly basis. So, and again, if people understand debt in general, the interest pays off the profit first, and then you finally pay off the principal, right?
Yep.
So, in that sense, it sort of secures the lender extremely, extremely well. So, the risk that they're taking, so it's not risk capital entirely because the risk is significantly reduced.
Right.
I mean, even lenders lose money, but I mean, those are different sort of cases that happen. Risk capital is where equity is involved, which is where, like I said, you sort of arrive at a
So
price.
angels come in there.
Angels come in there, yes.
Micro VCs and institutions. What's the difference?
There's no difference. They're both institutions.
Why are they called differently? Do
No,
institutions?
no, it's just the size of the fund is
So
that's the
micro
classic.
VC is more likely to play
A
on the.
smaller, it's a smaller fund size. That's all. That's the difference.
Got it. And corporate and strategic, how does that work?
So some corporates, invest through their balance sheets. So their rights and their alignments will be different from institution, and often a corporate investor is the same as a strategic investor.
Okay.
Which means there's a strategic linkage to the business they're investing, which means that they could at some point, even if it is not explicitly put forward, they may want to,
Acquire.
yeah,
Okay.
take majority.
And their lookout in your business is not a venture capitalist
It won't
lookout.
be. No, it won't be.
It's to sort of absorb the full company.
It could be. It's not a guarantee, but it is often the reason why a corporate venturing arm will do something.
Got it. Any one insight to close this? Unobvious. I mean, you've spoken to a lot of founders today. What's one?
No, like I said, I think the unobvious but the obvious is that do your homework about financing, about raising capital. It cannot be that I didn't know about it or I was taken for a ride. I think equipping yourself with the nuances is important. You don't need to understand every last decimal point because that's the job of specialists, but definitely do the work. You have to do the work. As a founder, it's your responsibility. It's not anybody else's responsibility to educate you.
Okay, lovely. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.